Excited to be here. So we're going to talk a little bit about where we're going over the next 3 years. This is a great time to talk about this. Gusto does these 3-year strategy arcs. We just finished G25, which was the last 3 years, and now we just did G27, which is now to 2027. Spent a lot of time talking about this internally. So it's about as fresh and crisp as it could be to deliver to you today. So great time for us to talk. It's about how we empower accountants, how we empower SMBs, and ultimately entrepreneurs to be successful. So excited to get into it. Just real quick on me. So Chief Product Officer, I've been here for a year and a half. This is truly a dream job for me. I've been working in the small business industry for about 10 years, for the majority of the last decade at Square. I'm excited to come here to Gusto. I'm really excited about what's ahead for Gusto, but mostly just excited to serve small businesses. That's been a passion of mine for most of my career. I feel the world is a better place where there's a thriving small business economy, thriving neighborhoods, as I know many of you feel. And so together, we're gonna do this. We're gonna continue to help support small businesses and accountants who empower them. So before we get started, we're going to take a look at a video that's going to go through some of the challenges that I know many small businesses feel, many accountants feel, and many of you helped make this video, so I'll thank you in advance for that. And most of our vision that I'll walk through keys off of a lot of the challenges you'll hear in this video. So let's roll.
We're in an increasingly complex state of work.
The labor market has become so much more complicated.
Everything in the world is more complex now than it used to be.
And because of the scarcity of certain skill sets in the United States.
Skilled labor is one of our biggest challenges currently.
We've had issues with trying to hire new people as well.
Because of these new regulations and compliance requirements.
And over half of our new clients, they have some type of a risk management or a compliance related issue.
Everything changes. Laws change, rules change.
I feel like it's a moving target.
Because of the mobility of our workforce moving to other states.
Every state, many cities and localities have their own different rules.
Shoot, I'm not going to know every micro little local tax.
You're like, maybe I shouldn't do this. And that's not what we want entrepreneurs or small businesses or accounting firms to do. We want them to keep growing.
I've never lived in a time with more access to information.
Many years ago, we didn't have that much there. And it feels powerful to have access to all that data. And it can be, but it's also overwhelming.
When we were talking, I had to close every single window and close out of every single tab so I could only focus on this one.
You can feel these things compounding and making payroll even more complex.
I've spent hours on just like one client payroll before.
The challenge we faced, and I've heard other firms face, is what extent do you go to?
How are your employees or how are you spending your time?
This constraint point provides an opportunity to really think like an entrepreneur.
How can I utilize my resources? And so it's like my first call is usually to the Gusto support team.
We have to use as many resources as possible.
Get out of the traditional historical way of thinking about staffing a client engagement.
Efficiencies that we create drive profit.
I'm going to use better tools that let my team do more and serve clients better.
I can free up resources. I can bring on a new client.
We see these as huge opportunities for our practice.
We are always looking for any edge we can find in any kind of data movement and technology to make things better, faster, smarter.
It's the key partners that really keep us going forward when we know that our feedback is taken to heart and we really have someone that has our back.
All right, let's give it up for the many folks in this room that helped make that video. I can see some of you right now. I met many of you last night. Thank you so much for your feedback. We hear you on these challenges, and we hear this from small businesses as well. And so this is really the nucleus of a lot of the vision that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to go through the vision high level. We're going to talk very concretely about what we're building. I'm going to show you in detail how this is going to play out for your clients and also for you as trusted partners. And finally, we'll talk about the impact that this will deliver throughout the talk. Most of what you'll see, just to make it clear, are things that our small businesses, our shared customers will experience, but I want you to know what your clients will see and feel when they're using Gusto over the next 3-year arc. So to get to it, the core of what we want to try to accomplish over the next 3 years is transforming what we've built as a people platform to be more of an entrepreneurship platform. And what that means is helping small businesses and entrepreneurs be successful have an unfair advantage in order to ultimately foster success as entrepreneurs. We're still going to help with building great teams. That's the nucleus of Gusto. But there are other critical needs that small businesses have as they're going through the journey that we're also going to try to fulfill, and I'll walk you through that in some detail. So if you break down sort of what this means, kind of what is this entrepreneurship platform, it's 3 core tenets, which are at the top of this slide. So the first, as I mentioned, is build great teams. That's going to remain the core of what we do. The second is an area we're putting a bit more emphasis on. This is starting and protecting businesses, helping entrepreneurs make the leap from doing a side hustle to being professional businesses and ultimately being ready to bring on accounting help. Second is protecting them on that journey. So things like insurance, things like separating personal and business finances, things that help them be protected as they go through realizing entrepreneurship. And finally is effectively managing finances. We've played a big role in this to date with payroll. There's a lot of things that small businesses struggle with access to financial services, as many of you know, and we're going to try to tackle that over the next 3 years. All of this is built on sort of 2 common platform components, which is going to power all of it. The first is this essence of core experience. So we want all the things that we're going to deliver, and I'll talk about today, to feel like one Gusto, not like you're using like 19 different products that kind of work together. It's just one thing that needs to all work together seamlessly. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that. And then the second is just doubling down on services. We all know that despite building the best digital product you can, small businesses need to get on the phone, they need help, they need to talk to people. We deal in ambiguity in this line of work, and so we're going to continue to do a lot on the services front. You'll hear more about that today from my colleague, Mike Dickinson. So there's sort of 3 big hows that I'd articulate in terms of what ties a lot of this together and how we want to try to deliver this entrepreneurship platform. The first is shining in moments that matter. And so we'll walk through this in a minute as part of this presentation, but when you sort of map the entrepreneurial journey and you talk to hundreds and thousands of businesses, as I know many of you have, you learn that there's these critical points where they just need a lot of help. It's making your first hire, making your first manager hire, moving to a new state, doing these things that you've never done before, but you have to do to be successful. And most entrepreneurs are just not prepared to do those things well. And that's where we can show up as partners, both on the accounting side as well as on the technology side, to help get folks to success in these critical moments. The second is, as I mentioned before, is doing this in an integrated all-in-one way so we can save time, ensure people have more success quickly when they're using our tools and ultimately can move on to other aspects of running their business. And the third, as I mentioned before, is really just delivering exceptional service. So all of these are sort of critical to success. I'm a product guy, so I have to kind of talk about what the actual products are. And so I wanted to just enumerate for you in a bit more detail how these things show up across the product portfolio. And if you kind of look through each of these, so on build strong teams, start and protect business, and effectively manage finances, we're really expanding and doubling down on a lot of our product portfolio. So the items that you're seeing on this list are all areas that we're investing in materially. The ones that I've bolded are the ones where we're doing a bit more than I think we've done traditionally. So we're going to do a lot on building strong teams in the realm of HR, helping people get support in a way they haven't before on being able to do HR foundational work, employee compliance, and a lot of things necessary in order to manage teams more from an HR standpoint. Mobile itself isn't really a product, but we've kind of lacked a pretty sophisticated mobile offering for employers. We have one for employees. We are going to build a world-class one for employers, realizing that most employers now are working on the go. In the second column here, you're going to see a lot today from me on compliance. The video spoke to it. We've heard it loud and clear, that really helping keep small businesses compliant on the right side of the law in a world where there's lots of changing regulation and people are now working everywhere is a big pain point, and we think that's an area that we can really add value. Gusto Start is a collection of services that help people make this leap, and I'll show you this in detail. It helps people go from a side hustle to being entrepreneurs and ultimately being ready to welcome on accounting partners. So excited about that. Business insurance, we have workers' compensation today. We're going to do a heck of a lot more in business insurance to help people make sure they have the protection they need. And lastly, just to highlight Gusto Money in our effectively managed finance category. This is going to be a suite of offerings from banking, accounts payable, accounts receivable that complements payroll. I think gives entrepreneurs some unfair advantages that they're not going to be able to get from other providers and works cohesively with our ecosystem. So to walk through this, I'm going to just give you a taste of sort of walking through the life of an entrepreneur across the stages as we talk about them. So this is sort of the first stage here of taking the leap of I'm kind of doing this side hustle and I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know how, and do I have it in me to make the leap? We're going to talk about going through that process, how we're going to enable it. We're going to talk about an owner-led business, which is, I think, a lot of times sort of the pinnacle of what we think about for somebody that's just sort of getting started. They've got a team, they're trying to run the business, they're trying to deliver things for clients, they're trying to get things done for customers, and they wear a lot of hats, and they need help. So we'll talk about that phase. And finally, the third phase will be multi-leader businesses. So these are more at-scale businesses. They've got managers, they're working in different states, they're growing. Kind of how is Gusto going to show up at that phase? So let's get into it. We're going to do this through the eyes of an entrepreneur. So the star for today is Georgia. Georgia is a freelance designer. She's been doing design kind of on the side, but she's got a day job. She wants to do it full time, doesn't know how to kind of make that leap. And so she's getting into the process of thinking about, hey, I want to do this. How do I go about it? So what does she do? She does what many of us would do. She goes to Google and she starts to search and says, hey, how do I start a business? Very common. What she finds is this product called Gusto Start through Gusto, which has suddenly maps out a lot of things that have been kind of rattling around her head on like, hey, I need to think about this. How do I get started? On incorporation, on how to open a business account to keep her personal and business finances separate, insuring her so if she does something that doesn't work out, she doesn't get personally sued, enabling her to track and bill hours, ensuring that she can pay herself compliantly, she can get the health benefits she needs so she knows she's protected and her family's protected while she's going through this, and finally, going through the act of hiring a team. So this all feels good. She gets started. We ask her a number of questions to understand her specific context, understanding that all small businesses are at different stages in their journey, need different things. We try to figure this out quickly. And what we're able to ultimately show her is a collection of things that map specifically to her pain points. So she can use our Gusto Start package that helps her kind of go through the process of becoming an entrepreneur. In addition to that, she can get a banking account right away. We can give her human assist to be able to help talk through some of the more ambiguous parts of starting a business. And finally, we can help immediately with compliance and getting her registered in Georgia, where she now is taking clients. So right away, she is sort of leapfrogged from, hey, I've got an idea about this, to like, I am operating as an entrepreneur in rapid speed. Finally, she's able to download an app to now run her business entirely through the app. The web product's still there. She can always do it on her computer, but she's on the move a lot, and she'll be able to do it fully from her phone. So flash forward a little bit. She's operating. She's quit her job. She's a full-time entrepreneur now. She's ready to bring on some help. Like most folks do when they're just getting going and need a team, she first looks to hire contractors. And we've got a number of support tools that have come up to help hire contractors better and have them have the same benefits that a full-time employee would see on the Gusto platform. So lots of work on contractors coming up. So what is, kind of stepping back, what all did you see here in this phase? If I kind of look at the product portfolio, you saw advancements in HR, you saw advancements in mobile, advancements in our compliance product, advancements in Gusto Start, business insurance, Gusto Money, all these things kind of coming together, hopefully seamlessly to Georgia. So it just sort of feels like she's using Gusto, but lots of different parts of Gusto lighting up in support of this part of the journey. So that's taking the leap. So Georgia's now an entrepreneur. She's got some contractors, and we're going to enter now into the owner-led phase of her journey and talk a little bit about how the roadmap's going to unfold. So her design agency is growing. She hires her first full-time employee. She converts a contractor also to being a full-time employee. So now she's got contractors and full-time employees working for her, and she's got sort of steady cash flow to be able to support that. She's running a time-based business, and as Josh alluded to in the intro, we want to do a lot more for hourly businesses. So we recognize that she's running a time-based business, and we offer her sophisticated time tracking tools, both so she can pay her contractors and her full-time employees accurately, but also so she can track time worked against projects, so she can bill for those projects accurately. And getting these accurate inputs into payroll and accurate data into the system is largely required both from our first-party product as well as from third-party products. So what I'm going to show you here is what Georgia will experience in our product, but we're also investing materially in our time API and materially in how we welcome third-party time products to get accurate time into the system, so payroll is ran more accurately every single time. And my colleague Vartika, who's coming up after me, will talk to that even more. Here's a view of what her employees might see. So in the app, we will know basically where they're working. We'll be able to give compliant guidance for things like breaks to ensure that we are accurately recording time, and it'll be very seamless for employees to be able to clock in, clock out, track time based off projects, and that will all show up eventually into payroll accurately with the right compliant breaks tracked so that we can run payroll accurately when that time comes. We will introduce a scheduling product. So Georgia's going to be able to go in and be able to say, hey, I've got employee number 1 working in Truckee on this client. I've got employee number 2 working in Reno on that client, and able to track this and kind of work back and forth with her team to make sure she has coverage against everything that she's working on. And finally, she'll be able to quickly go in and review and submit payroll when the time's right with accurate inputs coming from time. Hopefully, for many customers, they won't even need to go in and do this. This will just happen on autopilot. We're trying to materially move forward the amount of customers that have zero work to do to run payroll, and it just works. But if you're like me and you want to kind of like have a final eye on things before money moves, she can go and do that very easily through her app. Moving forward a bit, she's growing her team. She now has 4 employees in California, and she's about to trigger a critical compliance rule. And we want to be there for this in order to help her get through this phase and have the right guidance from a compliance standpoint. This is all part of our push on being proactive on helping people do the right thing before the actual need is there. So she hires her 4th employee. What she learns when she does that is that there is a mandate that she has a 401k plan in California when she gets to her 5th employee. She's not there quite yet, but we can put a recommendation in for her to just say, hey, just so you know, when you hire the next one, this is required. And so be prepared for that. If you want to take action ahead of time, you can. Or when you get to your 5th, we're going to tell you as a requirement that this is needed. And this is just one of many examples of kind of staying a step ahead of some rule that might trigger, depending on where you're located or what line of business you're in, to help keep you compliant across the board. Okay, so that's just a little bit of the owner-led phase. I'm going to talk for a bit here about the multi-leader phase. So if we imagine this, and I'm sure all of you have clients that are in this state, you're now scaling. You're hiring more managers. You're operating in more states. You need the things that you kind of did, that you figured out for your own systems to now be able to work for a manager that's working for you or multiple managers in many cases. So in Georgia's case, she kind of realizes, hey, I can't do all this myself anymore. I need some more help. And so she brings her first manager on. And even that in and of itself is sort of a critical moment to shine. That's a big deal to start to hand over that amount of responsibility now to somebody else. And ultimately, you want to have the right roles set up, the right permissions, so folks are clear on what they can't do. And we're going to deliver a lot of the tools so Georgia can do that with peace of mind and in control. Sticking on the compliance thread. So now we're operating in multiple states. We've got multiple managers taking care of different tasks, different managerial tasks. We're going to introduce something called the Compliance Hub that basically allows Georgia, as the owner of the business, and her team to quickly come to this hub and be like, okay, am I good? Am I operating correctly in all the states I'm in and all the things I'm doing? And be very clear on tasks that need to be taken on anything compliance related, as well as give guidance, as you'll see on the bottom part of the screen, on sort of the why behind those tasks and additional proactive things that they can do to stay compliant. So as you can see through a lot of these examples, a big push on compliance and a big push on, I think to Josh's point on AI, using all the data that we have that right now is kind of hard to parse and stay on top of it, using all that data with technology to actually make it very simple to use and stay ahead of the need for the entrepreneur and for the accounting partner so that all this is at your fingertips and proactive. Another example here, so Georgia learns that she's got a little bit of churn going on. She's got slightly larger group of employees now, and she's heard that folks are a little dissatisfied with benefits, and she's seeing some people sort of churn out from the business and leave her unexpectedly. So she's able to we noticed this as well on the Gusto side, and we're able to recommend running an employee sentiment survey and get feedback on that. From that survey, she verifies that there is actually dissatisfaction with benefits at the company and is able to very quickly be recommended a set of things that would actually help her retain, taking into account both what other businesses are doing in her area and what similar businesses at a similar size are doing kind of across the country to guide her on that. So she's able to make an intelligent choice on how to add benefits for her team. And the last thing I'll highlight for you is she's now adding a team member. There's a contractor she wants to bring on board who is in Canada. And we've just started on this journey of being able to help people hire anyone, anywhere. We want to be able to empower Georgia to hire a contractor no matter where they are, to hire a full-time employee no matter where they are, and have that be as seamless as adding a team member has always been on Gusto, so they don't have to worry about the mechanics of doing that no matter where that employee is. So she's able to do that to help grow her team. So quickly here, you saw benefits light up a bit more in the multi-leader journey, international support, hire anyone, anywhere, light up, and more on compliance. And so this is just, sort of a sampling of a number of the things that we're trying to do over the next 3 years. We have lots coming up later today from many of my colleagues that'll go deeper into these areas, but I can't tell you how excited I am for a lot of these things to start to come to life. It maps very directly to the pain points we've heard from this community, very directly to pain points we hear from the small business community, as well as takes advantage of, I think, the technology advancements that Josh talked about that's going to enable us to really produce magic for small businesses. So just to wrap it up here, we're going to improve core products as we talked about to make this better for small businesses. Ideally, this is saving time for you. This is making sure that we are taking care of the everyday operational tasks that small businesses go through. So as accounting partners, you're able to work more on value-added services and advisory services on top of these things. And ultimately, we can help our shared customers and small businesses succeed. So I'm stoked. I hope you guys are stoked. You're going to see a lot of details on this throughout the day today. A lot of work went into it, and we really, really hope that this is value add for you and value add for small businesses. So that is what I got for today. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.